We do not stand still and are developing for you, so we bring to your attention a new voice and a new story.
Everyone assumed I had given up, that I abandoned something significant for a trivial pursuit. Questions ceased. They began narrating my tale instead. However, the truth remained unheard. It patiently waited for its moment to be revealed. If you appreciate quiet resilience and tales that grow gradually yet leave a profound impact, subscribe to the channel. After all, the most impactful voyages are often those that go unforeseen. My name is Olivia Reid. I'm 31 years old and live above a bookstore in Seattle. I brew my own coffee and pay my own expenses. Apparently, I continue to be the family's disappointment. I was expected to become a doctor, the intelligent one, the overachiever, the cherished child, until I wasn't. I withdrew from medical school during my second year. It wasn't about drugs, drama, or scandals. It was simply burnout, the kind that eroded me internally, a struggle unnoticed as I continued to smile at Christmas dinners. When I departed, my father remained silent for months. My mother wept into a napkin and informed everyone of my temporary absence. My younger brother Ryan transitioned smoothly, becoming the family's new source of pride, possessing a finance degree, a corner office fiancé from an esteemed background, the complete package. As for me, I commenced teaching technology fundamentals to senior citizens in my locality in exchange for money, mental peace, and something to engage my days with. At first, it seemed like defeat, but it gradually felt like a purpose. What had started as individual lessons over coffee turned into community classes at the library, then webinars, eventually leading to a concept for an online platform, which I named Elderbright. The objective was straightforward: to assist individuals aged 60 and above in staying connected within a rapidly evolving digital world that often neglects them. We taught emailing, video calls, online banking, digital safety, and even spotting false news before it proliferates across Facebook. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't a trendy startup. However, it was making a difference. That week, I held a video call with an 83-year-old woman named Mrs. Givens, 2 hip replacements alongside an abundance of spunk sufficient for a television series. It took us 40 minutes to configure her Zoom microphone. She addressed me as darling and mumbled, "This technology loathes me." Yet, when it began functioning and she beheld her son's image on the screen, a man residing in another state, she covered her mouth in surprise and murmured, "You've brought my child into my living room." Such instances may not make news headlines. However, they significantly impact lives. That's what I developed Elderbright for. In just 3 years, we had more than 80,000 active users, partnerships at the state level, and a queue of nonprofits requesting us to extend our services into their communities. We were making a difference, one patient tutorial at a time. But to my family, I was engaged in some sort of online teaching endeavor. They never showed interest in how it was progressing. Not once did they express pride. To them, I had deviated from the golden path and straight into the wilderness. It didn't matter that I constructed the path myself and illuminated the way for others to follow. The achievement was lost on them. A month ago at our Sunday meal, my mother served roast beef and casually told Ryan's fiancé, "Ryan has always been the focused one. Olivia, she's more of a free spirit." I didn't respond. Instead, I continued cutting my carrots politely, as disappointments often do. We stay quiet, we stay polite, we remain unnoticed. But change was on the horizon. It would start with a name long forgotten, spoken by someone oblivious to my true identity. The irony was always poignant. I could create a platform for countless strangers to feel understood, but my own family refused to ask me even one genuine question. At Elderbright, we were in the midst of a significant update, streamlining our onboarding process for older users who had little experience with keyboards. I just finished a user test with a 76-year-old man who wept upon his first successful FaceTime call with his granddaughter. He repeated, "She thought I was gone." In short, The text describes the author's experiences of being overlooked by her family despite creating a platform for others to feel seen and understood, while she helps update Elderbright's onboarding process for elderly users who have never used a keyboard. A user test with an elderly man who could now connect with his granddaughter via FaceTime left him emotional as he had feared he was gone from her life. That instant ignited me brighter than any funding notification ever had. However, when I brought it up at a family dinner the following week, my father merely grunted, implying that teaching old folks to click buttons was insignificant work. Quite noble indeed. Ryan suppressed a chuckle. I chose not to argue. They were unaware that clicking buttons had evolved into a comprehensive educational platform based on adaptive user experience, UX principles, and a custom accessibility structure tailored to function effortlessly with screen readers, motor skill tracking, and voice command optimization. They didn't know that our monthly newsletter enjoyed an impressive 78% open rate, or that we were being piloted in 3 state-run community centers. My pet project was transforming more lives weekly than most of their boardroom meetings managed yearly. Since I hadn't shared this with them, they remained oblivious. Because when one is tagged as a failure, one either struggles to remove the label or quietly wears it while constructing something too substantial for them to ignore. 2 weeks before Ryan's engagement party, my inbox signaled with the subject line, Amanda C. Testimonial Submission. Upon recognizing Amanda as Ryan's fiancée, I opened it. The submission was a 90-second video sent through our Elder Bright Stories That Shine campaign, where individuals or their family members could share the influence of Elder Bright. In the video, Amanda sat in a dimly lit living room, holding her smiling elderly grandmother's hand. "This is my grandma Margaret," she began. After losing my grandfather last spring, it was a solitary time for her, but thanks to Elder Bright, she was able to stay connected with us all through weekly video calls and even learned how to use online grocery apps. It restored some confidence in her, and it gave us her. I was stunned. Amanda didn't recognize me, didn't connect the name. She simply knew that Elder Bright had aided her family. I watched the video twice, then a third time. At the end of the video, Grandma Margaret addressed the camera directly and said, "Thank you, Olivia. That evening, my mom phoned me. Make sure you remember the engagement dinner is on Saturday. We want everything to be flawless," she said. I wasn't certain if I should attend. I replied, "Why wouldn't you?" she asked, though her words came out swiftly. "I have doubts about my place." A moment of silence followed, then simply, "Try not to discuss your website too much. Amanda's family is quite professional. Ivy League types." I almost chuckled. "Got it," I said, no reference to buttons. She didn't catch the sarcasm. I ended the call, gazing out of my apartment window at Seattle's lights flickering in the rain. My mother was unaware that her son's fiancé had publicly and emotionally thanked me for giving her grandmother a means to feel connected again. And I had no intention of mentioning it then, as sometimes it's wiser to let the truth reveal itself gradually. In the lead up to the engagement party, I avoided filling out the RSVP card. I understood they anticipated my presence, a polite smile and inconspicuous corner dweller like an old photograph, easy to miss. Yet, it was Amanda, the grandmother who deemed me human once more, that motivated me, not my family. A week prior, at a cousin's barbecue preceding the event, someone inquired, "So, still tinkering online?" I smiled, nodded, bit back my words. My mother standing nearby didn't dispute their statement, neither mentioning staff, nor users, nor grants. Instead, she generously offered more potato salad, and there I stood, clutching a paper plate, feigning invisibility. Never again for them. At the office, we were wrapping up a partnership with the Washington State Library System. Elder Bright was to be tested in 12 rural libraries, places where seniors had more livestock than broadband connections. The work was truly impactful. Meanwhile, at home, my mother was selecting napkin shades and sending me pictures of suitable dresses, remarking, "No black." Avoiding pantsuits, opt for something feminine instead. I found myself scrutinizing the message as if it bore fangs. My mother relished control, particularly over those who resisted control. The day preceding the party, I visited a local coffee shop to welcome our latest intern, an exceptional coder named Jamie, aged 19. As we conversed about UX for senior populations, a woman from the adjacent table intruded. "Excuse me, are you Olivia Reid?" Recognition hit me in the form of Elder Bright. "Yes," I responded, taken aback. "Oh my goodness," she beamed. "My father has been utilizing your platform for months. He now sends me memes." Memes? Something I was unaware he even understood. Jamie stared at me as if I'd suddenly developed superpowers. "You didn't inform me that people identify you. They typically don't," I remarked, but the reality was the beginning was here. More emails, more testimonials, an invitation to a podcast, a subtle hum. Beyond my family's narrow perspective, I wasn't inconspicuous. I was ascending. That night, sleep eluded me. I continuously replayed Amanda's video in my mind, noticing her gaze at her grandmother, the authenticity in her tone. She didn't know me on a personal level, but she placed trust in something I created, something born out of pain, failure, and rebirth. That trust was unadulterated, unlike the affection I perpetually sought from people who refused to acknowledge me. At 3 a.m., I got up and retrieved a dress, not black or a pantsuit, but a dark emerald green, sleeveless, clean line, elegant, and simple. It was mine. I stored Amanda's testimonial video on a USB drive, not to display, merely to possess, a silent reassurance that the ripples we cause can travel beyond our wildest expectations, reaching people we've never met and drawing back those who thought we were lost. The restaurant was adorned with glass and gold, the type of establishment where the lighting was intentionally subdued and the bread came with truffle butter. I arrived 10 minutes beforehand as usual. My mother looked taken aback when she saw me. "You came?" "Surprisingly so." "You requested me to," I replied casually. However, she didn't appear pleased. Her eyes gave it away with their tight smile and furtive glances at my dress, finding it too daring, too defiant. I positioned myself towards the end of the table, keeping a low profile as they preferred. Ryan and Amanda arrived 15 minutes later, beaming brightly. Amanda greeted everyone, even me. She was yet to acknowledge me in the way she would have later. The night proceeded with speeches and champagne toasts. Ryan's superior stood up to make an expensive-sounding statement. Amanda's father spoke about legacy and loyalty. I listened along, remaining unnoticed once again, until dessert. It was then that Amanda leaned over casually, her curiosity piqued. She asked me, "What is it that you do again?" The room fell silent around the edges. My mother tensed up. I sipped my water. "I manage a digital literacy platform, primarily for senior citizens. Yes, something like online classes, but more like adaptive systems designed for long-term interaction. We excel in accessibility technology, including screen readers, large print navigation, and speech input." Amanda looked at me, her eyes wide. "What's this called, Elder Bright?" she asked. I nodded subtly. "Elder Bright, yes." Her hand covered her mouth. She glanced at Ryan, then back at me. "You're the Olivia Reid," she said, referring to the founder of Elder Bright and face of its Stories That Shine campaign. The room fell silent. A fork hung in midair above my mother. "My grandmother Margaret used Elder Bright daily until her passing," Amanda continued. "You facilitated our video calls every Sunday." I smiled softly. "I remember. I saw your submission to the campaign." Amanda stood up. "Why didn't you reveal yourself then?" I shrugged. "It wasn't the right moment." She turned to the table. "Perhaps you all don't fully grasp this. This woman single-handedly constructed a national program. She has been featured on NPR and Forbes." Aunt Linda breathed in sharply. Uncle Joe cleared his throat. My father glanced at his wine. Mother hesitated, then closed her mouth. Amanda continued, "I can barely believe this. Meeting you. Your sight helped my family. My grandmother never considered herself smart until she discovered it." She sat down, still looking dazed. Ryan leaned towards me. "I didn't realize. You never asked, and I didn't say much about it." Another silence fell, but this time it wasn't chilly. It was awestruck. The evening unfolded in an unusual glow. People began to murmur not secretly but directly to me. Toasts started acknowledging Olivia's remarkable work. My mother seemed rigid and mute, as if rewriting the story live. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like a footnote. Instead, I felt like the main story, not because I claimed it, not because I interrupted, but because the truth simply entered the room and refused to stay silent. The following day, a peculiar tranquility resonated within me. It was neither triumph nor retaliation, but something profound, similar to the quiet after a door gently shuts. My phone vibrated, displaying a message from Ryan. I never asked for your forgiveness. Straightforward, devoid of explanations or emoticons. I studied it for some time, then turned off the screen. Later, my mother attempted to reach me, dialing twice. I declined the calls, not out of spite, but due to uncertainty about what she might say and not wanting to trivialize the situation with her words. In the evening, I embarked on a stroll to the pier. The air was invigorating, a blend of salt, pine, and an eerie stillness as if something had softly broken open, allowing light to seep in gradually. My mind traveled back to Amanda's expression when she understood, not merely recognition, but respect, for her influence, for significance. I also contemplated the years I had spent feeling insignificant, believing their silence indicated my unworthiness. Now, I understood more. In 2 days, a genuine letter came, handwritten by my mother. Dear Olivia, it started. I viewed the video Amanda shared. I wept. It wasn't because I didn't recognize your creation, but because I hadn't taken the time to inquire. My focus had been fixed on what you abandoned, forgetting to see where you were heading. You undertook something no one in our family ever mustered the courage for. You persevered after a failure. This act of yours has shown others how to regain their voice. Even me. With love, Mom. I read it thrice. Then, I carefully folded it and left it next to my desk, not framed or displayed, but kept. Because this time, I didn't need proof on the wall to validate my life. I was living it. Every day. That weekend, I delivered a keynote at a local tech conference in a community center auditorium. There were no cameras, no national press, just 60 people with notebooks and optimism. I told them the truth. I shouldn't be here. Most of them listened, holding their hopes close. Initially, I was destined for a different identity, but life steered me in another direction, and I ceased resisting. When the room erupted in applause, I didn't shed tears, but I did flash a genuine smile, not merely polite, but one that reached my spine, signifying triumph without needing approval. 3 months later, Amanda invited me for lunch, not as Ryan's sister, but as Olivia, the founder, the woman who constructed something from ruins and had the audacity to call it beautiful. Our meeting took place at a bright cafe in Capitol Hill. She was already there, smiling with a half-open notebook next to her coffee. I've been thinking, she said. There's a foundation I volunteer for. They finance social impact startups, particularly those led by women. I presented your work to them. Here are some notes, numbers, potential connections. If you're prepared to expand, I believe we can assist. I remained composed. You owe me nothing. She shook her head. This isn't about debt. It's about faith. You bestowed something upon my grandmother that I never could. I merely wish to witness where else your radiance can extend. For the first time, I allowed someone to have faith in me without hesitation. That summer, Elderbright initiated its nationwide campaign, which we dubbed Digital Dignity. It included workshops in public libraries and training centers in community centers. We offered free programs for veterans and underserved seniors. We reached 250,000 users. I received an email from a 92-year-old resident of Montana. Your platform assisted me in applying for a passport online. I'm scheduled to fly and meet my great-granddaughter next month. A first for me. Thank you for providing that initial step. I pondered over that message for a considerable period, not as validation, but as a reminder. Every small action counts. At Ryan and Amanda's wedding, I wore a navy jumpsuit. No one reacted. My mother introduced me to her acquaintances as my daughter Olivia, who runs a national nonprofit organization. The label wasn't ideal, but it was a beginning. Later, she pulled me aside, holding a glass of white wine and emotion. You have always followed your own path, she said. Previously, I thought your being ahead meant you were lost. Now I realize you were simply moving forward. We didn't embrace, but we stood together longer than ever before, and that was sufficient. That night, I stood under a blanket of fairy lights observing people dance. Ryan approached with his hands in his pockets, showing some nervousness. Amanda informed me that you have been invited to speak at Google, which is indeed true next month. Will you boast about being my sister? I chuckled. Will you boast about being mine? He smiled, and just like that, the past's hold on us weakened. 2 weeks after the wedding, I sent Ryan and Amanda a small package. Inside was a handwritten message and a USB drive. The drive contained a customized elder bright tailored for the assisted living facility where Amanda's grandmother had spent her final days. Lifetime access, no fees, full technical support. I didn't announce it to anyone. There was no press release or credit, just a straightforward note that said, "Some bonds endure beyond misunderstandings. I appreciate your role in aiding mine to discover her voice." The following morning, Amanda contacted me. She remained silent initially. Instead, she breathed through her tears and murmured softly, "You weren't obligated to do so." I acknowledged this with a smile. That was the reason for my actions. Back home, I displayed a quote on my refrigerator. It served as motivation. People will say you have failed, but one day they may ask how you achieved it. The message remains anonymous without any bitterness or signature, just plain truth. Beneath it, my reflection could be seen in the fridge door, smiling and steady. Because this time, the light was not from someone else, but my own. It had always been there. I'd love to know where you are observing from today, as well as whether this story resonated with some part of you. Please leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts. You never know who might require reading your words. If this tale evoked emotion within you and you endorse quiet triumphs, personal growth, and tales that matter, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's much more in store, and I would be delighted to continue sharing it with you. I am grateful you're present. Farewell till our next encounter. Remain rooted and compassionate. Also keep in mind that your tale continues to evolve.